The stars above the Andromeda expanse were calm, shimmering like scattered diamonds across the black velvet of space. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the human exploration ship Endeavour, staring at the holographic map that flickered before him. Humanity had only just begun reaching out beyond its solar system. The galaxy was vast, and there were civilizations out there, waiting or hiding. Elias had led many missions before, but none had been like this. His fleet was small, a dozen ships at most, and most of them were exploration vessels lightly armed, meant to study rather than fight. Yet something unusual had appeared near one of the uncharted systems. An alien fleet, organized, precise, and undeniably hostile in its presence. It had started as a routine mission. Sensors had picked up what looked like debris from an ancient battle, but when the Endeavour approached, the debris moved. Ships formed into patterns, advanced formations as though alive. The aliens didn't attack immediately, but their presence was a silent warning. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Vance, her voice calm but tense. "They're broadcasting something. A message, I think. We don't understand their language." Elias leaned closer to the console. The symbols on the display shifted and twisted, colors he had never seen in a human interface glowing as if alive. Yet somehow the meaning came through, not in words but in feeling. "Observe, do not interfere. Be judged." Elias frowned. He was a man of action, not fear. But even he felt a shiver run down his spine. Humanity had never encountered beings like this before. The stories of the stars, passed down through generations, often spoke of alien races, but none had been as powerful or as controlled as the Ziliri. The first real test came unexpectedly. While trying to navigate through the alien fleet, one of Elias's ships, the Artemis, veered too close to a massive formation. It triggered what humans would call a defense protocol, though the aliens seemed to do it without anger, simply precision. Beams of energy flared, and the Artemis was struck, forcing it to shut down engines and drift. "Shields holding," reported Commander Riel, Elias his second in command. "But they are analyzing us." Every move, Elias thought quickly. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability could be an advantage. He ordered a maneuver no trained officer would have dared. Weaving through the alien formation, leading the fleet in a pattern the Ziliri would not anticipate. Energy beams flew past, slicing through empty space, dangerously close to his own ships. But Elias's gamble paid off. The fleet passed without a single ship destroyed. Somewhere in the depths of the alien formation, a massive ship pulsed with light, a sign that the aliens had noticed him. And then, almost immediately, the communication signal changed. The alien symbols organized into a form humans could understand. "Come. Prove worthiness." It was a summons. Elias stared at the message. He felt a strange mixture of fear, excitement, and disbelief. His mind raced, imagining the power of the aliens and the risk of refusal. The human race was small and young in the galaxy. To meet an alien empire head-on was either bravery or foolishness. But for Elias, there was no choice. "Set a course," he said quietly yet firmly. "We go where they call us. Prepare the crew." Lieutenant Mara raised an eyebrow. "Captain, you realize this could be a trap?" "Everything in space is a trap, Lieutenant," Elias replied with a half-smile. "But we don't run from challenges. We face them." The fleet adjusted course, moving toward the signal. Days passed in tense silence. The humans, though uneasy, trusted Elias. He had led them through dangers before, through asteroid storms and pirate ambushes, and he had never failed. Still, the sense of unease grew with each parsec. Finally, they arrived at the destination, a planet glowing with a strange crystalline light. Orbiting it was a fleet unlike any Elias had ever seen, ships of impossible shapes, glimmering in colors that seemed to exist beyond human vision. It was both beautiful and terrifying. A single ship detached from the main fleet and approached the Endeavour. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, reflecting the stars. And then a projection appeared above the deck, a figure tall and elegant, humanoid yet unmistakably alien. Its presence radiated authority, intelligence, and power. The alien queen Serathis. Elias felt his chest tighten. He had read about alien monarchies in ancient records, but nothing could prepare a man for standing before an actual queen of a galaxy-spanning empire. She observed him with eyes that seemed to pierce through metal, through steel, through thought itself. "Captain Elias Ward of the human fleet," she spoke, her voice melodious but carrying weight that shook the bridge. You have entered Zilari space without permission. Yet I am intrigued. Few creatures dare act without fear in the face of power. You may have destroyed one of my patrols. Unintentionally, I understand. But even in destruction there is skill. There is potential. Elias squared his shoulders. Your presence is unexpected, but we come in peace. Humanity seeks knowledge, not war. The Queen's form shimmered slightly as if amused. Peace? The concept is unknown to me. Yet I see in you a spark. A challenge. I do not make threats lightly, nor do I offer opportunities. But I will give you a test to see if humanity is worthy of existing alongside the Zilari, or if it should remain, small and forgotten among the stars. Elias swallowed hard. What kind of test? Sarathis extended a hand toward the stars. Light flowed from her fingertips, forming shapes of impossible geometry and alien landscapes. The mind is the first battlefield. Those who succeed here may face the next. Fail, and your kind risks erasure. The crew of the Endeavor murmured uneasily. The threat was clear. But Elias did not falter. He had never fled before, and he would not start now. Then I accept your test, he said. A moment of silence passed. Then the Queen's form flickered, and suddenly Elias felt himself lifted, not physically but mentally, into a space that existed outside normal reality. The stars outside the viewport of the Endeavor twisted into colors he could not name. Shapes formed and dissolved. He realized he was in a kind of simulation, or a construct of thought. Sarathis' voice echoed around him. Here, your mind is free. Your instincts, your reasoning, your spirit, all will be measured. There is no room for weakness, Captain. Humans are clever, but are you clever enough? Elias looked at the shifting environment, and a part of him smiled. This was new. This was dangerous. But this was also what humans were good at. Thinking differently. Acting unpredictably, surviving. I don't know, he said aloud, if we're ready, but I know we'll try. Elias felt a strange weightlessness as the stars around him twisted and bent. He could see them, yet they seemed almost unreal, like light trapped in water. The world he stood in was no world at all. It was a construct of the alien Queen, a place where thought and reality collided. He wasn't afraid. He was focused. Humans survived by thinking, by adapting, by daring when others faltered. Where am I? Elias whispered aloud, though he knew Sarathis could hear every word. The air around him shimmered like heat waves over a desert. The ground beneath his feet shifted constantly, forming shapes and landscapes that twisted and changed in seconds. Mountains would rise, then dissolve into rivers of light. He realized quickly that this test would not just challenge his mind, it would challenge his perception itself. You are here. Sarathis' voice echoed, melodic yet sharp. Because your kind is clever, but cleverness alone does not survive. Adaptation, creativity, understanding of chaos, that is required. Many have failed before you. None have succeeded, Elias nodded. I understand, he said, though part of him wondered if understanding was even enough. Then show me what I must do. A glowing shape appeared ahead, a puzzle unlike anything he had seen before. Massive blocks of light floated in the air, symbols rotating around each other in complex patterns. A voice, not the Queen's this time, but something mechanical, spoke in a strange, resonant tone. Solve the pattern. Complete the sequence. Fail and cease. Elias studied the shifting blocks. Alien logic was precise. Patterns repeated in ways humans were not used to. Rules embedded in sequences that defied instinct. He reached out his hand and the blocks responded, spinning and aligning according to his movements. But every time he thought he had solved it, the pattern changed, adapting to him, testing him. Hours or perhaps minutes passed. Time in this place was uncertain. His mind ached, yet he refused to stop. He realized the test was not merely about solving the puzzle. It was about thinking differently than an alien mind would expect. The Zilari relied on patterns, rules, centuries of logic. Humans relied on unpredictability, intuition, and sometimes even humor. Elias smiled faintly and did something unexpected. He made a random move, something that should have broken every rule, and the blocks shifted, not against him, but in alignment with him. The sequence changed, forming a path forward. He had learned the first secret of the Zilari mind. It respected ingenuity, not repetition. Interesting, Sarathis' voice said, echoing through the space around him. You do not follow the rules. You bend them. You twist logic with chaos. This is Unusual. Elias moved forward, his confidence growing. The environment continued to change, throwing obstacles at him that seemed impossible to overcome. Bridges formed and vanished. Walls of pure light blocked his path, then dissolved into nothing. Strange creatures appeared, translucent and ever-shifting, observing him with silent intelligence. He realized they were tests too, obstacles designed not to harm, but to measure his reaction. Some creatures attacked when he hesitated, others vanished when he acted boldly. Humans thrived on improvisation. He leapt, dodged, and made split-second decisions. When one creature lunged at him from above, he rolled under it and kicked a nearby floating block, sending it spinning to knock the creature off course. Each action taught him something new about this strange realm. He began to anticipate changes, to trust his instincts, and for the first time he felt a connection with the Queen. Not fear, but a strange understanding. She was not punishing him. She was teaching him. "You are learning faster than I expected," Sarathis said, her tone calm but edged with curiosity. "Few can adapt to this environment. Your mind is unlike any I have observed. Clever, yes, but there is more." Elias paused for a moment, breathing heavily. "More?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "You possess something alien minds often lack, the ability to imagine what does not yet exist. Humans think in possibilities, not certainties. You see beyond the rules. That is why you have survived thus far." The next part of the test arrived suddenly. The ground beneath him shifted into a vast checkerboard, each square glowing with a different color. As he stepped forward, some squares sank into shadow while others rose into glowing platforms. Shapes, symbols, and even faint visions of alien battles flashed beneath his feet. The pattern was endless, constantly changing, impossible to memorize. Elias looked around. He could retreat, wait, or try to calculate the changes, but he realized quickly that nothing would work if he stayed purely logical. He had to think creatively. Closing his eyes for a moment, he felt the space around him, imagining the moves he wanted the ground to make. When he opened his eyes, the glowing squares shifted under his feet, forming a path forward. The Queen's voice was quiet, almost approving. "You are beginning to understand. Humans do not simply survive. You transform. You shape reality to your will." Elias continued, moving through increasingly difficult trials. Some tested memory, requiring him to recall sequences of symbols that changed faster than he could blink. Others tested strategy, presenting multiple paths, some deadly, some illusory. Yet he pressed on, relying on human ingenuity, imagination, and instinct. Hours turned into days, or so it seemed. He lost track of time entirely. Hunger, fatigue, and the discomfort of the shifting environment pressed on him, but he never faltered. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans, Elias, thought in ways the Queen's creations could not predict. Then came the final challenge of the mind, a reflection of himself. A version of Elias appeared on the path ahead, identical in every way, yet moving with a confidence and skill he had not yet shown. It spoke in his voice, "You cannot win. You are limited. Your mind is human. You fail." Elias froze for a moment, studying the duplicate. It mirrored his actions perfectly, anticipating his moves. But then he smiled. Humans were unpredictable. He did not have to match his opponent. He only had to surprise it. He made a sudden move. A jump to the side combined with a kick to a floating block, sending it spinning into the duplicate. The reflection stumbled, disoriented, and the path ahead opened. He realized the truth. The final test was not about defeating a copy of himself, but about trusting his instincts, embracing chaos, and using creativity over logic. Sarathis's voice filled the space, calm yet resonant. "You have completed the test of the mind, Captain Elias Ward. You have done what no other species could. You have survived not by strength, but by thought, by adaptability, by daring to be human." Elias fell to one knee, exhausted but triumphant. "Then humanity is past?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Yes," the Queen said. "You have conquered the mind. But this is only the first step. The next trial will test your spirit, your leadership, and your courage. Prepare yourself, Captain, for the trial of steel awaits." The world around him dissolved in a swirl of light. The stars returned, real and vast. The bridge of the Endeavor coming back into view. The crew looked at him with awe and relief. Elias had survived. He had returned. But they all knew, even before he spoke, that this was only the beginning. He straightened, looking at the crew. "The real test begins now," he said. "And this time, it will not be a simulation. It will be the battlefield." Mara nodded, her eyes shining with pride. "Then we fight together, humans and crew alike. Whatever comes next, we are ready." Elias smiled faintly, his mind already racing ahead. He had faced the impossible and adapted, and he knew one thing clearly. Humans were not just clever. They were unstoppable when driven by purpose, courage, and the spark of unpredictability that made them unique. The air smelled sharp with energy. Elias stood on the barren plains of a distant alien world, the sun low on the horizon casting long orange shadows across jagged rocks. This was not a simulation. This was real. Around him, hundreds of human soldiers and a handful of old mechanized units, machines patched together with ingenuity rather than wealth, were assembling. Across the plains, a massive force of Ziliri warriors waited. They outnumbered the humans 10-1. Elias surveyed the field carefully. The Ziliri were precise, disciplined, and well-trained. Their armor gleamed like glass. Their weapons pulsed with energy beyond anything humans had ever built. The humans had courage, yes, but courage alone would not win this battle. They needed strategy, unpredictability, and unity. He turned to his second-in-command, Commander Riel. "Listen carefully. We cannot fight them the way they expect. They have centuries of training. They will anticipate normal tactics. We do not have centuries. We have moments. Every move must be calculated yet unpredictable." Riel nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. "Then we fight smart, Captain." "Not hard." Elias smiled faintly. That was the human way, facing impossible odds with both brain and heart. The ground shook as the Ziliri advanced. Thousands of warriors marched forward, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The humans held their positions, waiting. Elias signaled to his engineers. "Activate the traps. Make the terrain ours, not theirs." Over the next few minutes, the barren plains transformed. Rocks were rigged to explode in controlled bursts. Dust clouds were ignited to block enemy vision. Narrow pathways were reinforced to funnel the Ziliri into predictable lanes. Even the old mechanized units were positioned strategically, not as frontline fighters, but as force multipliers, blocking, distracting, and shaping the battlefield. The first wave of the Ziliri hit the human lines with a roar. Energy blasts tore through the air. Humans ducked, rolled, and returned fire, often using the terrain to their advantage. Elias moved through the battlefield, giving orders, inspiring courage. Humans were fast, creative, and unpredictable, and the Ziliri hesitated. They expected rigid formations, precise attacks. Instead, they faced improvisation and clever tricks at every turn. Elias noticed a squad of Ziliri flanking his right. He made a quick decision, one that went against standard military logic. Instead of pulling back, he directed a group of human soldiers to charge forward aggressively, drawing the aliens toward the traps he had set. Rocks exploded, energy blasts ricocheted, and the alien flank collapsed under the unexpected pressure. The humans cheered, but Elias kept moving. The real battle was far from over. A massive Ziliri commander emerged from the ranks, a giant armored warrior wielding a blade of pure energy. The alien's presence radiated authority and strength. The soldiers hesitated for a moment, unsure how to respond. Elias stepped forward, not in fear but in strategy. "Draw it here," he whispered to Riel. "Use the terrain. The rocks, the trenches, the mech units. Let it chase us into our advantage." The giant charged faster than anything human eyes could follow. Elias and his team dodged, weaving through traps they had set in seconds earlier. The alien commander stumbled into one, energy waves exploding around him. The humans attacked relentlessly, using teamwork and creativity rather than raw strength. In the end, the giant fell, not because humans were stronger, but because they adapted faster, thought differently, and used the battlefield as a weapon. Sarathis observed from above in her hovering craft, her expression unreadable, yet a flicker of intrigue passed over her eyes. Humans were surviving against impossible odds. They were not the weakest species she had seen. They were extraordinary. The battle raged for hours, though time felt uncertain. Elias kept moving among his soldiers, encouraging them, giving orders, adjusting strategies in real time. When one flank seemed overwhelmed, he would appear with a counterattack from an unexpected direction. When a trap failed, he improvised another on the spot. Humans were flexible, and flexibility was their weapon. As the day wore on, the humans began gaining ground. Small squads turned into larger advances, pushing the Ziliri back bit by bit. The alien soldiers were precise, yes, but predictable. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was proving deadly. Elias climbed onto a rise to get a better view. He saw the battlefield like a chessboard, every movement a potential opportunity. He realized something essential. This was not just a test of strength. It was a test of human ingenuity, leadership, and spirit. Every human on the field, every decision, every tiny improvisation contributed to a greater plan, one that no alien mind could predict. Suddenly, a massive energy storm erupted in the distance, a natural hazard the Ziliri had relied on their superior technology to navigate safely. Elias saw an opportunity. "Lead them into the storm," he ordered. "They rely on rules. We make our own." The humans moved with speed and precision. Using the storm as cover, they flanked the Ziliri, attacking from angles they would never expect. Energy blasts collided with rock, soldiers dove, and machines roared. The storm amplified chaos, and chaos was a human advantage. Saratha's voice filled Elias's mind, calm but resonant. "Impressive. Your kind can turn disorder into opportunity. Cleverness is not enough, but cunning, courage, and the ability to act under pressure, that is rare." Hours later, when the storm subsided, the battlefield was quiet. The Ziliri forces had been pushed back, their commanders retreating to regroup. Humans stood scattered but victorious. They were exhausted, injured, and weary, but they had won. Not by power alone, but by adapting, thinking, and refusing to give in. Elias walked among his soldiers, checking on them, giving encouragement and silently marveling at what they had accomplished. "You all fought brilliantly," he said. "Remember this feeling. This is what humans can do when we work together. Think differently and never give up." Commander Riel came to his side. "Captain, you did it. You led us against impossible odds." Elias shook his head. "We did it. Every one of you. Humans are not just clever. We are strong because we adapt, because we dare, and because we never stop. That is what the Queen is testing, not me. All of us." Sarathis descended from her hovering craft, her figure radiant with alien elegance. She walked across the battlefield, observing the human soldiers and their improvised machines. When she finally stopped before Elias, there was a rare softness in her eyes. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown leadership, courage, and ingenuity. You have turned disadvantage into victory. Humans are unpredictable, yet effective. That is why you have passed the trial of steel. Few could have done what you did today." Elias bowed slightly, humbled yet proud. "We only did what humans do best: think, adapt, and fight together. That is all." The Queen studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps your kind deserves more than observation. Perhaps your kind deserves a place among the stars, not as subjects but as equals. But one test remains. The final trial will measure spirit, determination, and loyalty. Only then will I know if humanity is truly worthy." Elias straightened, determination in his eyes. "Then we will be ready. Whatever comes next, humans will meet it head-on." And as the sun set over the jagged plains, the battlefield quiet once more, Elias realized something. Humanity had survived the impossible once. And if the next trial required it, they would survive again, not by strength alone, but by courage, ingenuity, and the unbreakable human spirit. The Ziliri watched in silence, intrigued and cautious. The humans had proven something extraordinary. Not just skill, not just strategy, but the ability to rise above expectation, to adapt and to prevail against impossible odds. And in that they were unique. Elias looked to the horizon. The next challenge awaited, and he knew deep in his heart that humanity's greatest strengths were only just beginning to shine. The battle was over, yet the quiet that settled across the alien plains was uneasy. Elias stood atop a rocky ridge overlooking the human soldiers as they regrouped. Their uniforms were scorched, faces streaked with dust and sweat, but their spirits were high. They had survived against impossible odds, outsmarted the Ziliri, and held their ground. But Elias knew the Queen's challenge was not finished. The trial of steel had proven the humans' courage and ingenuity, yet it had also revealed something unexpected to the alien Queen Sarathis. For centuries she had ruled the Ziliri dominion with careful calculation. No species had dared defy her expectations so completely, and the humans' unpredictable brilliance had sparked something unfamiliar in her mind: doubt. That night, Elias was summoned to the Queen's hovering craft. The humans approached cautiously, aware that the alien monarch's interest could mean opportunity or danger. As he stepped aboard, the interior shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting the stars outside. Sarathis sat on her throne, serene and powerful, yet there was a subtle tension in her posture that Elias noticed immediately. "You have done well, Captain," she said, her voice calm but carrying an edge of uncertainty. "Few have survived the test of the mind. Fewer still the trial of steel. Your people are remarkable. Perhaps more remarkable than I first believed." Elias inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. But we understand that the trials are not over. You have one final test in mind, and we are ready to face it." Sarathis studied him silently, her eyes reflecting the stars beyond the craft's windows. "It is not a question of readiness, Captain. It is a question of intention. I have watched humans, studied your species for centuries, and yet I remain unsure. Do you fight for conquest? For glory? Or do you fight for something greater?" Elias met her gaze steadily. "We fight for each other. We fight so no one can dominate or destroy the people we care about. That is what sets humanity apart. We do not fight for ourselves alone." The Queen's expression softened slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. "Your words are intriguing. Your kind shows courage, cleverness, and ingenuity. Yet I wonder if it is enough. You are capable of great creation, but also great destruction. Your leaders, your soldiers, even you, Captain, could become instruments of chaos if left unchecked. How can I trust that humanity's ambition will not outpace its wisdom?" Elias considered her carefully. Humans had made mistakes, certainly. They had fought wars among themselves, caused suffering, and yet they had also created incredible beauty, discovered knowledge, and built societies that thrived on cooperation and compassion. "Trust is earned," he said slowly. "But we also learn humans can change, adapt, and grow. That is what we have shown you in these trials. We survive, we protect, and we improve. That is what makes us strong and worthy." The Queen remained silent for a long moment. The stars outside her craft seemed to flicker as if reflecting her thoughts. Then she spoke almost to herself. "Perhaps I have underestimated you. Perhaps your species is not merely clever but resilient, and yet a final measure remains. Only when your spirit is tested beyond expectation will I know the truth." Elias nodded. He could feel the weight of her words. The test had moved beyond puzzles, simulations, or even battles. This was about essence, humanity's character, their ability to endure, to lead, and to persevere under circumstances beyond reason. At that moment, the alarms on the craft blared. Red lights flashed across the crystalline walls, and a deep rumble shook the interior. "What is it?" Elias demanded, moving quickly toward the main console. Sarathis's eyes narrowed. "It seems the galaxy does not wait for tests or judgments. A rogue swarm of machines, the Vrax Continuum, approaches. They are relentless, powerful, and without mercy. Their path of destruction leads directly toward your fleet. And mine." Elias felt a surge of adrenaline. The humans had faced the Zelari in controlled trials, but this was real war. A threat neither species could ignore. He quickly assessed the fleet's position. "We'll have to fight together," he said to Sarathis. "Humans and Zelari side by side. There is no other choice." The Queen's gaze softened in a way Elias had never seen before. "You are bold," she said quietly. "Few would suggest alliance when danger threatens. Perhaps that is why I have been uncertain. Your kind sees beyond fear. Perhaps that is why you endure." The two leaders coordinated their forces quickly. Human engineers reinforced the fleet's shields while soldiers prepared weapons. Zelari units deployed with precision, creating formations designed to slow the swarm's advance. Yet Elias knew that the human advantage lay not in firepower, but in creativity and unpredictability. "Listen up," Elias shouted to his soldiers. "The Vrax Continuum relies on predictable strikes. We won't let them predict us. Use the terrain, improvise traps, and support each other. Remember what you learned on the battlefield. Humans survive by thinking differently. Now we will prove it." The swarm arrived faster than expected, metallic shapes twisting through space with lethal efficiency. Energy blasts tore through the void, and human ships darted among alien vessels, creating chaos in the path of the machines. Elias directed the action, moving quickly from command to command, anticipating enemy moves, improvising strategies on the fly. Every human soldier fought with courage, every maneuver unconventional, every tactic designed to turn disadvantage into opportunity. The Zelleri were skilled, yes, but the humans' unpredictability confused them. Where their calculations assumed rigid patterns, humans acted fluidly, adapting to every new threat. Sarathis observed from her command ship. Her interest piqued. She had expected humans to falter, perhaps even panic under the pressure of an overwhelming threat. Yet they did not. They improvised, adjusted, and continued fighting with intelligence, courage, and heart. Elias noticed a small human squad trapped by the Vrak swarm. Without hesitation, he led a daring counterattack, using the fleet's small numbers strategically to create openings. Explosions flared, energy blasts ricocheted, and through careful coordination and bold moves, the squad was freed. The humans began to gain ground. Where the Vrak's machines expected linear attacks, they found instead unpredictable ambushes, decoys, and coordinated counterattacks. The swarm, relentless and seemingly perfect, was unprepared for ingenuity. From above, Sarathis spoke, her voice carrying through the comms. "Your people, they are extraordinary. They do not merely survive, they adapt, they lead, they think. Perhaps this is the test I could never have devised." Elias felt a swell of pride, not for himself but for every human fighting alongside him. They were proving the truth of what the Queen had begun to understand. Humanity's strength was more than skill or power. It was resilience, creativity, and the willingness to protect one another at any cost. Hours passed. The Vrak's continuum was powerful but not invincible. Human strategy and courage turned the tide. The swarm's advance slowed, its formations breaking under the weight of unpredictable tactics. And finally, after a long and grueling struggle, the remaining machines retreated, scattered by human ingenuity and the combined might of both fleets. Silence fell across space. Humans and Zelleri alike had survived, though exhaustion and damage were evident everywhere. Elias stood on the bridge of his ship looking out at the stars. He had faced the Queen's challenges and now the galaxy itself. Humanity had endured. Humanity had proved itself worthy not through strength alone but through character. Sarathis approached him, her steps graceful yet deliberate. "Captain Elias Ward," she said quietly, her eyes reflecting both relief and awe. "I have seen what no test could predict. Your people fight not just with skill but with spirit. They are capable of bravery, loyalty, and ingenuity in ways I did not expect. You have passed not only my trials but the true test of worthiness." Elias bowed slightly, humbled. "It is not just me, Your Majesty. It is every human who stood here, every life that contributed to survival. Humanity thrives because we work together, because we adapt, and because we do not give up. That is our strength." Sarathis nodded. "Indeed. Perhaps now I can trust that your species is not only clever, but capable of greatness. Your people are unpredictable, yes, but in the right ways, and that is a rare gift in the galaxy. I see now that humans are not merely survivors, they are something more." Elias smiled faintly. "Then if there is one thing we have learned today, it is this. Humans endure. No challenge is too great, no enemy too powerful, and no test, even one designed by an alien queen, can stop us when we stand together." For the first time in centuries, Sarathis allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Perhaps you are right. Perhaps your species belongs among the stars, but the greatest trials are not over. The galaxy is vast, full of dangers, and even the strongest may falter, yet I see now that humans may endure where others fail." Elias looked out at the horizon at the endless expanse of stars. He knew that the real journey was only beginning. Humanity had survived the Queen's doubt, endured the impossible trials, and faced the chaos of a galaxy that would test them in ways they could not yet imagine. But he also knew this. As long as humans stood together, adapted, and trusted in each other, there was nothing, no alien, no machine, no test, that could truly stop them. And somewhere, watching silently, the alien Queen Sarathis began to see not just a species, but The stars above burned like scattered fire across the blackness of space. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, his hands gripping the railing, eyes fixed on the massive battlefield ahead. The Vrak's continuum was returning, stronger and faster than before. Tens of thousands of machines moved with terrifying precision, a relentless swarm threatening both human and Zelleri fleets. Beside him, Commander Riel checked systems and weapons, tension in every line of her body. "Captain." They're coming faster than we expected. This isn't a drill. It's real. Elias nodded, calm but resolute. We've survived worse. Humans survive by adapting, by thinking differently, by never giving up. Today we fight not for ourselves but for everyone who believes we can endure. We win, or we do not survive at all. Across the battlefield, the Zeliri fleet aligned with human ships, a sight both breathtaking and rare. Sarathis herself hovered above the human fleet in her command ship, her presence both commanding and reassuring. She had trusted Elias's judgment, and now their forces would fight together. The first wave of the Vrax struck like a storm. Metallic shapes twisted through space, firing energy beams that tore through ships and shields. Human vessels darted among Zeliri units, improvising maneuvers that no algorithm could predict. The humans' unpredictability was their advantage, and Elias knew it. Use the terrain. Move fast, distract, divide, and strike, he shouted into the comms. The fleet responded instantly, weaving among asteroids, using debris fields, and creating traps with every maneuver. Small squads of humans took bold risks, drawing the machines into deadly ambushes. The Zeliri were powerful and precise, but they had never faced a species that combined intelligence, instinct, and creativity like humanity. Where the Vrax expected straight lines and predictable patterns, humans acted with chaos as their weapon. Explosions lit the void, ships spun through energy storms, and every strike from the Vrax was met with a clever counter. Elias led from the front. He directed ships, soldiers, and mech units with split-second decisions, his mind moving faster than anyone else's. He noticed a squad of Vrax swarming toward a vulnerable human cruiser and acted immediately. Riel, take your team and flank them. Use the debris as cover. The maneuver worked perfectly. The Vrax, anticipating a head-on attack, were drawn into traps set by humans and Zeliri alike. Energy blasts ricocheted off asteroids. Metal shrapnel tore through the swarm, and the cruiser was saved. Every human soldier fought with courage, improvising, adapting, and inspiring each other with every move. Sarathis watched from above, her expression unreadable. Elias's leadership, the humans' ingenuity, and their relentless courage impressed her more than she expected. She had seen civilizations fall because they relied solely on power or logic, but humans combined strength, creativity, and spirit, and it was a combination she had never witnessed at this scale. The battle raged for hours. The Vrax were relentless, adapting to the humans' unpredictability, but Elias stayed ahead of them. Every move he made was designed to turn disadvantage into opportunity, chaos into strategy. Where the Vrax expected despair, they found discipline. Where they expected rigidity, they found flexibility. A massive cluster of Vrax machines, larger and faster than the rest, suddenly separated from the swarm. They were clearly the command units, controlling smaller machines and coordinating attacks. Elias realized that if they destroyed these, the swarm would collapse. Target the command units, he shouted. Focus all firepower there. Riel, lead the strike team. The humans moved with precision, supported by Zeliri units. They dodged energy beams, weaved through explosions, and struck at the command cluster from unexpected angles. Elias himself piloted a mech unit, diving into the heart of the swarm, striking decisively and unpredictably. The Vrax commander machines staggered under the assault, their formations faltering. Sarathis descended to the front lines herself, wielding her psychic energy to shatter the cohesion of the Vrax swarm. Waves of force rippled through space, disabling clusters of enemy units and creating openings for the humans. Elias coordinated every strike, every maneuver, every trap, combining human ingenuity with Zeliri power. Slowly but surely, the tide turned. The Vrax, though formidable, could not anticipate every move, every improvisation, every bold action taken by humans and Zeliri together. The swarm began to collapse under relentless creative attack. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the remaining Vrax retreated. The battlefield was littered with wreckage, sparks of broken ships drifting into space. Human and Zeliri forces hovered, exhausted but victorious. The humans had survived, adapted, and turned chaos into triumph. Elias stepped out of his mech unit, breathing heavily but smiling faintly. Around him, human soldiers tended to each other, repairing ships and checking equipment. The Zeliri observed quietly, awe and respect in their eyes. Sarathis approached him, descending onto the field. Her presence was powerful, yet her expression held a warmth Elias had never seen before. Captain Elias Ward, she said, her voice resonating across the debris-filled void. You have done what few species could. You have led, adapted, and inspired. Your people fought not just with skill but with heart, ingenuity, and courage. Humanity has proven itself. Elias bowed slightly. It was not just me, Your Majesty. Every human here, every soldier, every crew member. We fought together. Humans survive because we trust each other, because we adapt, and because we refuse to give up. The Queen studied him, a rare smile touching her lips. Your kind is unlike any I have known. Clever, yes. Unpredictable, yes. But more than that, you endure. You fight not for power or conquest, but for each other. That is what sets humans apart. Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Humanity had faced trials unlike any other species. They had endured simulations of mind, tests of combat, and the chaos of real war. And now they had earned something more than survival. They had earned the Queen's respect. Then, he said quietly, if humanity has proven itself worthy, we can stand together, not beneath you, but beside you, protecting this galaxy from threats like the Vrax and ensuring a future for all. Sarathus's eyes reflected the stars above. Yes, Captain. Humans shall stand not as subjects, but as allies. You have passed every trial, survived every challenge, and proven the greatest strength is not force alone, but spirit, courage, and ingenuity. Humanity has earned a place among the stars. The human soldiers cheered, voices rising across the fleet and the battlefield. For the first time in centuries, Sarathus allowed herself to feel relief. Humanity was not just clever. They were worthy, unpredictable, and remarkable. Elias looked out at the horizon. The stars were bright, the galaxy vast, full of dangers and possibilities alike. He knew the journey was far from over. New threats would arise, new challenges would test them, and new battles would come. But humanity had proven something undeniable. They were not just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Queen extended her hand toward Elias. Lead your people, Captain. Show them the way, and together, we will face the galaxy, not as conqueror and subject, but as allies, as equals. Elias grasped her hand firmly. We will, Your Majesty. Humans do not falter when they stand together, and now we fight not for survival alone, but for a future where courage, ingenuity, and spirit define our place in the stars. The sun of the alien world rose slowly over the battlefield, casting light across human and Zaliri forces alike. Ships were repaired, soldiers rested, and the galaxy, vast and dangerous, stretched out before them. Elias knew that humanity had only begun to show its potential, only begun to prove that it could endure against any challenge. And in the quiet space above the planet, Sarathus watched with newfound respect. Humanity had passed every test, survived every trial, and transformed doubt into admiration. They had swept the stars with their ingenuity and the battlefield with their courage, and in doing so, they had earned not just survival, but a place among the galaxy's most extraordinary civilizations. Elias looked at the stars and smiled. The trials were over, but the real journey was only beginning. Humanity had proven it could rise above expectation, and now it was ready to shape its destiny among the stars. The galaxy would remember the name of Elias Ward, the human captain who had faced impossible odds, won the trust of an alien queen, and shown that humanity was stronger, braver, and more remarkable than any test could measure. And somewhere across the void, the Vrax knew they had encountered a species unlike any other, one that would not yield, one that would not falter, and one that would endure. No matter the odds, the future of the galaxy had changed, and humanity's place among the stars was no longer in question.